Hi, this is Yulia Sion. I'm a researcher in haptics and wearable tech, and today I will host this episode on haptics. Today we will talk about the importance of touch for our well-being and how we can harness this underrepresented sense through technology. And my guest today is Michael Banissy. Michael is a award-winning professor in social neuroscience and a science communicator. He has authored over 100 scientific publications and has featured across various outlets, including BBC, Cosmopolitan, Vice, Times, you name it. He also has received multiple prizes for his contributions to psychological science, including a medal from the British Psychological Society for outstanding contributions to psychology. And currently, Michael teaches at Bristol University, and he's also head of psychological science there. Hello, Michael. Thank you for chatting with me today. I'm really excited what you're gonna talk about today. How is your day going?
Yeah, it's all good, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here talking to you. So it's yeah, good.
Yeah, you're one of the few actually neuroscientists of touch. So probably our conversation will be more about like fundamental questions about around the touch, more so than technology. So I'm very actually excited about this conversation. And maybe to start with, since there are actually very few people, researchers specifically in touch in this world known to us, it would be amazing if you could share your story. How did you get into this direction of research? Why specifically touch? Why science of touch? Anything you'd like to share with us would be great.
Yeah, sure thing. So I suppose there's two tales to this really. One side is I'm really interested and always have been since a very young age in social interactions, how people interact with one another, how we build and maintain relationships. And actually, for me, touch is a really important part of that on a personal level. And I guess as I then moved into research, I was somewhat surprised very early on in my career to actually see that it was maybe not as researched as much as some of the other senses. A lot of the work that I saw growing up in a research lab during my PhD was dominated by things like studies of visual emotions and things like this. And of course, those are really important to our social interactions. But I was always wondering, well, where are the other senses? Where's the tactile component, and so forth? And so one side of it was driven through a kind of personal motivation and interest there. Another side of it came from the fact that very early on in my career, I started working with on synesthesia. So this rather rare experience where the senses get merged. And I was really lucky to very early on work with a group of people who there wasn't too much research about them. These were people who had vision touch synesthesia. So when they saw somebody being touched or they saw somebody in pain, they would feel tactile sensations on their own body. And so that was really where a lot of my research very much started. That was what my PhD was on. And actually that work tried to look at how those tactile experiences were important to things like empathy and sharing other people's experiences. And from there, I kind of branched out and become much more interested in touch as a sense, because, I was working with people who were literally feeling the tactile experiences of others. So in order to understand their experiences, I needed to understand how touch was working and how it brought us together in everyday life as well. So that was somewhat the journey I went on really with touch research.
That's very fascinating. Actually, maybe we'll talk about synesthesia and your research is synesthesia a bit later, because this is something very fascinating actually to know a bit more. And